everybody, we're back. Melissa's doing the Ask Me Anything segment. And if you have a question that you would like Melissa ask me, feel free to drop it in the comments, send me a DM, and we'll be glad to answer your question right here on YouTube. So go ahead, Melissa. What's your first question for today?
Yeah, hey, Justin, glad to be back. And so I have a collar currently on Starbucks. It was super bullish run from about April until mid-May. And I just wanted to lock in or at least hold on to some of that profit. And so I was hoping you'd talk a little bit about collars and just tell me when to use them. Let's talk about, maybe we can look at my strikes and just say, how am I going to manage these?
Sure. Yeah, I think that's a great question. I love collars. And the reason, if you don't know what a collar is when you sell a covered call and you use the credit from the covered call to buy insurance. Melissa, the only way I've ever gotten paid to insure an asset is through the stock market. So usually what I like to do is I like to collar a position over here. And I kind of already know Melissa's strikes because we talked about it a few minutes ago. So right now, Melissa has a covered call right here at about 106, and she had a long put way down low. So that long, she got a credit for it, which is great. She got paid. More than likely what's going to happen, and Melissa might not want to hear this, she's probably going to get called away on Starbucks, right? Starbucks is looking kind of bullish in the pullback that we've had in the market. How do I put on a collar? I look for us to start getting super extended off of the moving averages. So here we are, Starbucks, and this is probably when Melissa was starting to set it up, is we were like 10% off of the last 100 daily candles, right? So if you were to go in here and set up like a super collar and you're like, hey, I have to sell right at the money covered call and I want to get a put right in here. And you're like looking at the chart and you can already see the pullbacks happening, but I like to do my collars this way. And you're like, why are you doing it here? You're going to get called away. I'm going to get called away at all-time highs, and I am going to manage my long put as soon as I see a reason to. So for me, if I set up a position like this, I would sell, maybe the 110 covered call and probably buy the 105 put. I'm not going to collect a lot of money for this, Melissa. I'm probably going to collect like $100. All right. But my thought process is I can't lose, right? I can get called away at an all-time high, or I can manage this long put. Now, the question that a lot of you guys might be asking is, when am I going to manage this long put? And for me, I'm going to look for a reversal pattern or a key indicator on the chart. I love moving averages. I would manage my long put right here. And did Starbucks keep going down? Yes, it did. But I would have sold that long put right at the 100. If you wanted to wait for this beautiful Morningstar reversal, you can do that. But depending on how much time you got on your super collar, like Melissa and I usually sell around 30 DTE, give or take. So inside of 30 DTE, you have to really be quick on managing. The biggest mistake people make with these collars is they try to buy back that covered call for a debit. And they're not thinking about, hey, I really only collected $1 here. So if you buy back that covered call for $2, you ended up losing $100, right? So that's the biggest mistake I see. So collars are great to reduce your delta, but you have to be aggressive with them, be willing to get called away, and be willing to close that long put. That's the biggest mistakes.
Yeah, that's great, Justin. Thanks so much for that. So when you talked about managing the long put, what time frame do you look at managing that long put?
Sure. I like to manage really inside of 21 DTE. So like the last 3 weeks, I start, my little antenna go up and I start thinking, hey, when should I manage this? If I can get, like, if I saw this candle right here, like this candle, it gapped down right below, I would have closed at the beginning of the day. I would have closed at the beginning of the day because I was afraid it was going to bounce. If, let's just say I had more than 30 days, I would wait to see how this candle plays out, right? So I'm going to manage as fast as I can as soon as it hits a moving average inside of 21 days. If I have more than 30 days, I want to see this Morningstar reversal. I want to see some kind of reason to take off the protection.
Yeah. I want to talk about super collars then with the Rocket Lab.
Okay. Well, hold on a second. Let's set it up first.
Yep.
Hey, everybody. Justin and Melissa here. Good Kids Trading, Mr. Money Maxwell. Melissa is asking Justin questions from the audience, questions that she has. So if you have a question, drop it in the comments. Melissa will ask me, send me a DM, and she'll ask me, I think she has a question on Rocket Lab. Melissa, what's going on with Rocket Lab?
Yeah, so Rocket Lab right now, we have a super collar, and we've talked previously about collars, but I was hoping maybe today we could talk about super collars, just when to put them on, how to manage it, and what levels you're looking at before you start managing that long and short put, the put debit spread.
That's a great question. If you don't know what we're calling a super caller is, so a caller, you sell a call, you buy a put. You're obligated to sell your shares up here, or you can, sell your shares down here with the long put. What we call a super caller is we don't always need protection to zero, right? For me, I just like to make some money on a pullback, but I don't necessarily have to protect my Rocket Lab position all the way to zero. I'm okay owning some Rocket Lab at a lower price. So great. Look at these candles. Melissa set up the most beautiful super collar I've ever seen right here, because straight up, and maybe a couple days, Melissa's like, I'm about to be called away, which is fine because she would have gotten called away at all-time highs. But Rocket Lab dumped as soon as she sold her covered call. She bought a put right here at the 100 and she sold a put at the 95. So what happens is Melissa is saying, I'm okay losing my shares at 140. I'll sell them. She bought them way down here off the blue line. That's where you buy them off the blue line, you sell them high, right? So she's like, hey, I am going to sell my shares up here. She got a little nervous for a couple of days, and then it started pulling back, right? The biggest mistake most people make is they're going to say, I've got to buy to close that covered call for a debit. Don't do that. Stop doing that. Be okay getting called away no matter what. The second thing that most people don't do is they wait too long on their put spread protection. So just really quickly, you buy this long put and you sell the short put. So you're saying, I will sell you my shares. I have the right to sell you my shares at the strike of the long put, and I'm willing to buy them back at the strike of the short put, right? This costs money, but the covered call paid for it. So she could make like $5 on a $5 wide spread. That's the max that she can make. But hey, that's $500 she didn't have before. Now, Melissa and I, we set up a good to cancel order for 75%. So she's like looking for like $4, right? She got her $4 out of it. And she's like, I'm good. I sold the covered call and I got the $4. Where do you take these off is always the questions people ask. When you see a candle like we had today on Rocket Lab, I know this video might be coming out a couple of days later, but when it hits the weekly 100 SMA, great time to take that thing off, regardless of how many days you have left to expiration. Can Rocket Lab keep going down? Abso-freaking-lutely. Rocket Lab can keep doing this, right? But at least Melissa has her covered call that she got paid for, and she actually got, let's just say she made $100 or $200 on this. She just made an extra $300 here. So she's already collected $500. What can Melissa do? She can set up another super caller. If she wanted to, she could move her covered call down here if she wanted to get called away, or she could just let this thing expire worthless and reset back in August. So that's how we think of super callers. We're selling that covered call. We're buying an insurance policy, but the covered call pays for it. The stock market is the only place I know where you get paid for insurance policies. Melissa, do you have any follow-up questions or?
No, I think that was good. I like the idea of getting a credit on both sides. I get a credit for putting on the super collar. I get a credit for taking off the put debit spread. And then I just let the covered call expire worthless. Or I really liked your idea also of rolling it out to August and maybe putting on another super collar, especially with earnings coming up. Again, I saw banks are starting to report in the middle of July, so we're going to be going back into earnings.
Yeah, I'm so excited for earnings. This is a great level. Like when you start looking at the chart, you're looking at a really nice level to buy some Rocket Lab, and that's just how I have a little bit longer term perspective. And that's all we have for today. Like I said, questions, comments, throw them in the chat, put them in the comments. We'll be glad to answer your questions live right here on YouTube. So have a great day.
Yeah, thanks, Justin.